Says we're live.
Says we're live?
We're live. Yeah.
What's going on? Welcome back to another great segment. Surprise for y'all. Today we have a special guest. We want to do an intro and let y'all get to know one of our great deputy commanders, which is our recruiter, our boss. So we thought we'd bring her on in and ask questions. If y'all got questions, we can always bring it up. Thanks for tuning in. We're going to get straight to it, okay? Yeah. Do you want to say anything before we begin?
No, just the Getting to Know Us Staff Sergeant Hall edition.
Staff Sergeant Hall edition.
She'll tell you a lot more about her history. Yeah. But when we first got to the station, she was the one who picked us up, transported us to our battalion.
Yeah, from Portland.
As well as kind of gave us the ropes and everything like that. So she will tell you a little bit about her history, where she came from, why she chose to stay as a recruiter, and some other stuff. But Ryan here will do the interview. So.
Yep, got my interview glasses on. I'm ready. Sergeant Hall, come on in.
All right. What's up, guys? Sergeant Hall.
Well, let me do an intro, okay? And what is your full name here? Not middle, but.
So I'm Staff Sergeant Savannah Hall.
Okay. You are the deputy?
Yes, I'm the deputy station commander at the Bend Army Recruiting Station.
Central Oregon. I know this video is for everybody, but this is mainly for y'all. So let's get to it. How long have you been in the Army?
I have been in the Army almost 7 years, so July will be my 7th year.
Okay. Now looking back, do you regret any of it?
Heck no. No, I'm about to be 25 in June, and I'll tell you, this has been probably the best decision I ever made in my whole life. So.
What makes you say that?
I love this job. I love being in the Army. I love being a paralegal, and I love being a recruiter. I went through a lot of steps to get here. Definitely, had a plan to go to college, was ready to go, and it just wasn't feasible at the time. It was definitely a lot more lucrative to go to basic training and have a fantastic time. A recruiter who is still in my hometown. She's not recruiting anymore. She's actually a nurse. But I talked to her before I came out to recruiting, and was like, hey, what do you think? And she's like, I think it'll be perfect for you. So I think I have a really good personality for it.
Wow. I don't know you still speak to the recruiter. Mm-hmm. Where did you enlist from? So
I enlisted from Gardnerville, Nevada. So their main office is actually in Carson City, which is the capital of Nevada. And
I thought it was Vegas.
No. When everybody's like, where are you from? Vegas? Yeah. The other side, in Reno, Lake Tahoe. And then I actually went out of the Sacramento MEPS because that's the closest MEPS that they have. So.
Okay. So obviously you kind of very lightly hit your job. So tell people what your job is, the MOS code, and all that fun stuff.
Yep. So I am the 27 Delta, which is a paralegal specialist. I am the only. We have the adjutant branch. We're part of the adjutant branch, kind of. We really are kind of our own branch. Legal professionals, judge advocates, and warrant officers. Basically, we have legal administrators.
Okay, so you provide legal advice or just build?
No, so as a paralegal, you do not provide legal advice ever.
Disclaimer.
Only ever. Basically, you work for an attorney, so you're an attorney's assistant. As a brigade legal office, basically you're in charge of multiple soldiers that run ARC-15s, chapters, go through and do power of attorneys, notaries. It's definitely a lot of reading, a lot of research. Being able to do court-martials is amazing. It really is. If you've ever seen the show Jag, it's a lot like that, just a lot less dramatic.
So if you had someone that wants to do that job, what advice would you give them?
Do it.
I like that. Do it.
Do it. I would tell you, this job has been absolutely phenomenal. I didn't really know much when I first joined, and when I was first looking at jobs. I was really wanted to be a combat engineer. I was coming out of high school. I thought that was the coolest thing ever. And they told me when I joined in 2013 that females were not able to join the branches where, infantry or combat engineer or anything like that. So when I chose paralegal, it was really more like, oh, this is my secondary thing. I don't really know anything about it. But once I got into it, I'll tell you, the JAG Corps itself really, really, really is one of the smallest branches. So they really have a lot of control over whatever you're doing. So especially as somebody who is coming up through the ranks, if you want to be a part of a really large organization, where you're really more in tune with everything that you're doing, the JAG Corps is definitely the way to do it. There's only one paralegal per battalion. A battalion is about 250 people. So there's one of you for every 250 of them.
I never knew that, actually. There's only one. Wow. Okay, so let me ask you this. I know we're going to get into it. Obviously, being a female in the Army, right? Do you think that there is a hindrance or it's too tough or too hard? What is your perspective on that?
No, actually, this is the only job that I know about that has equal pay. I mean, I'm in charge right now of a station.
You're the
because,
boss.
Yeah, because our boss is actually on leave.
Yeah,
So, I'm almost the youngest. I am the youngest person in the station.
you are.
I've been in the Army for less time than I think almost everybody, and I'm in charge. So I mean, it doesn't matter. They don't care. We all get paid the same. The pay scales are based on rank and time in service. So, I never have to worry about somebody putting me in a position to be like, oh, well, you're a female, you don't deserve to get paid as much as your boss. Like, no, me and my boss make the same amount of money. So.
Okay. So if you have a young recruiter or someone looking at the Army that's female, basically you would say, don't be scared. Kind of.
I mean, so the Army is really, really the only place that I've ever felt comfortable with every single person that I've really worked with. Nobody has ever put me in a weird position. I feel like everybody feels like I'm their sister. And, I mean, even our boss, he has a stepdaughter the same age as me. Like,
Oh, that's right.
We really do. I mean, the Army really is a melting pot of whole different kinds of cultures, all different types of everything. I don't think being a female right now, that makes a super big difference. I think being in the Army itself is just an amazing opportunity, and I love it.
Okay. So being in paralegal, it's a little different kind of world than a lot of other things in the Army. So with that job, where have you been to for the Army?
So my first duty station right out of high school, right out of training, was Germany. It was absolutely phenomenal.
Where in Germany?
I was in Kaiserslautern, Germany.
Okay.
Yep, Kaiserslautern. So it's about an hour outside of Frankfurt. It's really about 45 minutes close to the France border.
Is that near Landstuhl?
Kind of, yeah.
Okay.
About 45 minutes from Landstuhl.
Okay.
Which is kind of where the main hospital is. A lot of people, when they're deploying, that's kind of their midpoint where they go before they go to Kuwait.
Wasn't a fan.
No, and in Germany, especially in Germany itself, Germany all the way across is 10 hours.
Yeah.
It's about the size of Texas. So anything that you could possibly want to do in a day trip is absolutely possible.
Yeah, 2 hours from Paris.
Yep.
It's wow.
Yeah, so I went to France. I went to Spain. I went to England 5 times because that's where my grandfather is. I went up and down Germany. I went, the only place I didn't hit was Croatia, and I really, really wanted to go. But I just never made the time. So, especially at 18 in Germany, it's all host nation laws, so you're able to go and enjoy the nightlife and have a fabulous time. So,
I like how you put that.
Yeah.
Okay. So what is the greatest thing about being in the Army for you?
Just the fact that I'm able to get promoted and be in leadership positions, regardless of the fact that I'm a female, regardless of the fact that I'm damn 5'5". It doesn't matter that I'm 24. It doesn't matter that I weigh a certain amount. It doesn't matter that I'm white. It doesn't matter that I have long hair. So just the fact that I have the opportunity to be in this spot and be able to lead other people, mentor, coach, and do everything that I can to allow someone else to have the opportunities that I've had is probably my favorite.
Okay. So like you brought up a good point. You said it really quickly that being so young, you could be the boss of people that are obviously older than you. In your experience, has that been a difficult transition or weird or anything like that?
It's definitely been interesting. I would tell you that finding for myself has been more difficult to adapt than for other people to adapt to me. Basically being more confident in myself and knowing the fact that I know what I'm talking about. Being able to say, hey, I'm an expert in what I'm doing right now. So being able to lead people, regardless of how they look at me as somebody who's 24 or regardless of how they look at me as a female, that I think has been just getting confidence and stuff has been my greatest challenge.
Okay. So what is your most fondest memory though, like in your Army career?
My fondest memory. So when I re-enlisted, I was in El Paso at Fort Bliss, and I was part of an amazing battalion, the 204th Aerial Reconnaissance Battalion, as a paralegal. So they do a lot of military intelligence reconnaissance types of deals. So they do a lot of stuff in South Africa and South America. So a lot of stuff in Guantanamo, a lot of stuff in Panama.
Wow.
So they do a lot of trips. So they're also part of a battalion that is part of a combat aviation brigade. So they fly around a lot. They have fixed wing planes. They're one of the very few units that have fixed wing planes. There's not very many in the Army. probably Sergeant Warren would know more about that, but they just told me that it was really important, and I didn't know what that meant. So, but for my reenlistment ceremony, one of the officers who I helped out a lot with his packets and did a lot of classes for them regarding like ROE and stuff like that, rules of engagement. He offered for me to go on an amazing trip where they took the fixed wing plane with us and 4 other people, and we flew inside of the Grand Canyon. So flew inside of the Grand Canyon, had some amazing pictures, went and had lunch in San Diego, and then flew back to Texas that day.
Wow.
Yeah. It was pretty awesome.
Man, I need to do any of that kind of cool stuff.
Yeah, I've had some really cool stuff.
Okay, so in your opinion, why is the Army the best branch?
The Army is the best branch because honestly, there's the most opportunities.
Yep, that's true.
This is the only place that I've ever felt completely comfortable in being able to choose whatever I want to do. I love moving. I love traveling. I love being a part of huge organizations. I love to play sports. I love to be outside. This is literally the perfect job for me.
Okay. So recently you made a change in your career. You became a permanent recruiter. Okay. Why did you do that?
So I converted to be a 79 Romeo, which is a permanent recruiter, because I felt like I had more leadership and knowledge to provide to recruiters. So I think that this job is fantastic. I love this job. I would do it forever. I also loved being a paralegal. This is kind of the flip side of that, where I was processing people to get out of the Army because they were in trouble or stuff like that. They were overweight, not passing PT tests. I'm now helping people get into the Army, which is more of what I wanted to do. I'm also very good at talking, and I talk a lot. So being able to do this job compared to being a paralegal, this really was just the better fit for me. It's a better fit for my family. I take care of my mom, who is my dependent through the Army, which is really weird. Not a lot of people do that. Not a lot of people even know you can.
Yeah,
but you can. She's been my dependent for about 5 years.
What does a dependent mean?
So basically, the Army gives me money for her to live with me. So she lives with me. We travel around to my various duty locations with our dogs and her, and it's fantastic. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, let me ask you this. We're getting close to our hit time that we like to keep it under. If you were looking at yourself at 18, 17, all bright-eyed, what advice would you give yourself?
I would have started college earlier. I'll tell you, in Germany,
it's free.
I enjoyed the nightlife a little too much, probably more so than I should have. I should have focused a lot more on my studies because, and I didn't know this at the time, but being able to go through my AIT, going through basic training, going through and being a recruiter, going through and doing my advanced leadership course, my basic leadership course, all of that stuff counts as college credit. Mm-hmm. So I basically was given the opportunity to be able to get my degree through post-university with 63 credits to start, which is halfway to a bachelor's degree. Yeah. So I would have liked to have started a lot earlier because taking classes and going through this stuff, I've had 6 years to do it and I haven't done it. So, going through, now I'm doing it, and I'll tell you that if I would have done it probably a couple years ago, it would have been better.
Well, yeah, because in the Army, you have to have degrees to get promoted to be senior leadership.
Absolutely.
They're really big on that. I know some other branches don't care. Yep. I know for the Army, it is us. And you did hit on a great point. You said the Army has more opportunities. Can you give examples of opportunities or clubs or things like that?
Yeah, so I really like to volunteer. That's kind of a big thing for me. I volunteer a lot. So they have opportunities on every single base to be able to volunteer. There's literally a website. They have a point of contact, and then they set you up with local organizations to be able to volunteer at schools, canned food drives, stuff like that. Sports teams. Our unit in Fort Bliss had a softball team that I was a part of because I played softball in high school and I thought it was amazing. We had a gun club that we were part of. I did color guards for the Sergeant Audie Murphy Club. So we would go to the flight line and all the people returning from their deployments and stuff. We would do the color guards for them. There's so much stuff. The MWRs. So I really wanted to get my fishing license. So I got my fishing license through them. They let me basically go to classes. I signed up to do a motorcycle class.
Oh yeah, for free.
That ended up getting canceled and have to move to the end of the month of May just because of this whole thing that's going on, but it's free. I don't have to pay for it. There's everything that you could possibly think of. I travel constantly. Being able to take 30 days of leave a year is crazy intense. I take leave pretty much every 3 months, and I go and I have a boat. So I got my boating license through the Army. I go fishing constantly, go hiking all the time. Take our dogs out and just. There's a lot of bases. I mean, my biggest thing when I joined the Army was I wanted to travel. That was my only requirement, is that I didn't want to stay in one place for too long. I think right now in Bend, Oregon will be the longest that I've ever stayed in one spot. So I've moved pretty much every 2 years since I've been in. So.
Okay, so for our final question, I wanted to ask, what is your end goal plan after the Army? What is it you want to do?
And how long are you gonna plan on staying in, at least right now?
Oh, I'm definitely gonna stay 20 years. I mean, I'm about to be 25. I'm on my 7th year. I'm a staff sergeant, about to get looked at for E7 next year. I have literally every opportunity that you could possibly think of. If I can, I'll go as long as they'll tell me that I can stay. So if that means after 20 years, then I'm totally down for that. Really, I just want to build up a way to, build my retirement, and then I'm going to go live on a boat in the middle of a lake and go fishing every single day.
Hell yeah. All right. Well, I want to appreciate you coming in and talking about your experiences of life. I hope the viewers have a better understanding about, who you are, what you're about. If you're in the Central Oregon area and you're curious about the Army, I want y'all to know us as recruiters and as people. So these videos are for y'all to get to know each and every one of us, so you can make the best choice of who you just want to get information from. So I do thank you for coming on the show. Again, she is the boss. So when it comes down to meeting with her, that means you're getting a job. So that's all we got. Thank you all for tuning in, being loyal Primetime Ride Time viewers. We'll catch y'all tomorrow.